Hello everyone and welcome to another workshop with Sloba. I hope you had a great week and I hope you have a great Friday. So hopefully we're gonna make it even better with this workshop and we're gonna stream into weekend having something productively created. So what has been interesting for the past week is that we actually got quick release. So we have version 1.0 finally. It was in beta for like 2 years and now we have final version. And what I like about Qwik is basically this is the framework that we're gonna use today to build this fastest portfolio website. And what I like about Qwik is that basically Qwik is something which is very similar to React in syntax. A lot of people think that Qwik is actually built on top of React, but it's not. It's just using JSX, which is very similar. Also, the folder structure is similar to Next.js. Another great thing is that the bundle size is always around 1 kilobyte, which is insane. So you might be thinking, why another JavaScript framework? The reason is because Qwik is doing something revolutionizing and something different totally from other frameworks. Basically, they removed hydration, so they're not re-executing your application on the client, but rather they're just continuing what they did on the server side, and they're injecting the information inside of the HTML itself to then execute the JavaScript, which is being cached. So if you want to find out more about Qwik, I highly suggest you to go on their website and get more information there. But this is something that I was super excited about, and I wanted to create a tutorial on this portfolio website, and I'm going to share you what is the portfolio that we're going to be building today and for the next couple of sessions, probably 3 to 4, because we're going to make it 1 to 2 hours, and there's a lot of things to be done and covered. And in regards to the Qwik itself, it's built on top of TypeScript and Rust. So all about this framework is about the performance and optimization. So I think it has great chance to conquer the world, but it's up to the community whether if it's gonna be accepted or not. But it's something that I'm the most excited at the moment. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys are able to join the stream and to hear me. So I'm gonna share my screen and we can start off coding our project. So let me do that. Yeah, so the first thing that I want to do obviously is I want to create a new folder, and let's name this folder as portfolio. Something like that, yeah. And we can open this folder inside of Visual Studio Code, and now I want to open a terminal. So we can create application similar to other frameworks and libraries using the CLI. So we can just type in npm create Qwik at latest. And this will give us the latest version of Qwik, which is 1.0. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. And where would you like to create your new project? This is basically where you give the name or the project folder. So yeah, we can give it Qwik app. I don't mind it. So what we want to build, basic app, documentation, or component library. I will click on basic app with the Qwik City. Qwik City is like a Next.js to React. So it basically gives you routing. So yeah. Would you like to install npm dependencies? Yes. Initialize a new Git repository? Yes, why not? For building, they're using Vite as well, so everything is so fast. So now we can go into our repository, which is Qwik app here, and we can first examine what we have created. So let's just check. This is very similar to React, and like I said many times, this is why I like Qwik, but it's very similar to React. So first here we have Vite configuration, which is basically just a configuration of a file of Vite building tool for this project. And they're just loading some plugins like Qwik City, like I said, Qwik Vite, and stuff like that. Then they have tsconfig. As I said, it's built on top TypeScript. So this is the configuration file for TypeScript. They have target, which is ES6 2017. Then it uses the modules, path for the source, stuff like that. So basically this is a configuration file for TypeScript. I usually don't mess around with TypeScript, to be honest with you. Then we have a README file, package.json. Here you can read all the scripts that you have for Qwik. So to build Qwik, to start your application, to preview it, to lint it, all of the good stuff. Then we have prettier ignore because they're included prettier, and they also included ES lint. So that's a great thing. So another thing is, let's check examine public folder because it's shorter than source, obviously. In the public folder, similar to React, here we store all the assets that we need. For example, fonts here, favicon, stuff like that. So robots, all the things that you need, basically the assets of your application. And then in the source folder, so this is a bigger one. First component that we have is root component, and this is basically the component that's similar to React, is like app component, so the main component. And inside of this component, basically they are starting their application with Quick City provider, and inside of that they have head. This is like standard website structure. They have head and they have body here, and that's all. So what they're doing inside of the head, they are setting some initial tags and links, and then they're including this router head component. And what this router head component is inside of this components folder. So if we go to the router head, we can see that router head the only thing that it does is that it takes the head from other components using this use document head, and then what it does, it basically adds the title to the current page, and it adds these links, the meta tags, and it basically goes through the array of these meta tags, and everything generates for every single page that we have, because they're using router. So if you go to the router itself, you can see for every single page we have this index file, which is like the main file. And inside of the index file, this is all boilerplate code. We will remove that. But for every single route, you can set up document head. And here you set the title and the meta tags. And then that title and the meta tags are being cached here inside of this router head. And then here they set the head title and meta tags. And then this router head, like I said, is being imported inside of the root here, like so. Then we have a global CSS file. Let me just remove everything from this because we're gonna enter our global CSS here. Then we have entry file for when rendering application, when accessing application on the server. So when you're not using client. Then we have preview, which is like a pre-production version. And we have dev, which is what we are going to be using. So here is the setup where we are just basically starting the root application, right? That's all. Then inside of the routes, so basically this is the routing system that you get with Quick City. So whenever you create a new folder like this one, you get a new route. So if you go and let's start our application, so just run npm start. And now let me open the folder here. But actually, let me just revert back the global styles so that you can see what we have. There you go. So if you go to the routes, we can see that we have demo folder and the flower folder. So if we go and create a route, so demo/flower, you can see already I visited. Then you have this route. So basically, this is how you create routes inside of the Quick City. Obviously, we are not going to use them, so I will just remove all of this. And what else? Let me see. So yeah, the layout is the folder, or actually the file in where you include all the components that you need for your application. So basically, the basic setup is to have a header, to have the footer, and this is the slot where this index file gets rendered. So what we can do is we can clean up this index file, like so, just to clean up. I can also remove all the components because we're not going to use them. And we're going to go through this setup just in a second. So let me just clean it up. Inside of the layout, I will also remove the footer. And header we're going to change just in a second, like so. So basically, this is the setup that we don't have. Also, we don't need this demo. So I will remove it because we are not going to use these pages in our component, in our application. So yeah, let me just approve the deletion, like so. So yeah, now let me just get back to the index page, and this is the index page that we have. Okay, so there are a couple of libraries that I want to add to our project, and let me just take a second to see, are you guys able to follow along? Yes, there's no problem. Okay. So there are a couple of things that I want to include in our project. So let me just see. So yeah, first thing that I want to include is Sass, because I always like to use Sass because it has much shorter syntax than CSS. So in order to add Sass, just type in npm add -d for dev dependencies, and then just type in Sass, like so. Okay, and now go in the description box of this live stream and get the link to the public folder. So I already created a public folder with the fonts that we're gonna need and a couple of images. So let me just drag that repository here. So this is the repository. Here's the URL, but basically go to the description box and you will find it. So what you need to do is to go to this workshop-qwik branch. And this is the branch that you want to download, because we have this main from the previous workshop and this is the current workshop. So what we can do is we can just download this repository. So here we have this public folder, and let me just zoom out so that we can see it. So let's just download zip. Yeah. Now I will open this folder and I will just extract this here. And I just want to take this public folder. So I will just copy it. And then inside of the desktop, I have this portfolio folder. And inside of the quick app, we have this public. And I want to replace this public folder. So I will just paste it here. And yeah, so we have replaced our public folder. Now if I expand it, you can see that we have some images. We have fonts. Fonts, I have added the font awesome because unfortunately the default fonts for Qwik are not working. They are not being updated to version 1.0 yet. So this is one of the downsides when working with new frameworks and libraries. Some of the, they don't have as many libraries. Also, the support from community is not, big as, compared to React. So if you run into roadblocks, if you run into issues, there's no too many people to ask, for help. Like there's no Stack Overflow answers. So yeah, you're basically on your own. I haven't tried ChatGPT, to be honest with you, but yeah, default fonts were not working. So I added the font awesome, and these are the Poppins font which we are going to use anyways. Also, like I said, these are the images. Okay, so that's it for the public, and also this is the minified version of the public of the font awesome. Yeah. Beautiful. And another thing that I want to include as well is I want to add animate, or actually let's finish up the quick awesome, or actually the font awesome. So we need to download the actual file here. So basically you can go to fontawesome.com/download, and I want to download the CSS setup for the font awesome. So you can just go and click here on the free for web, like so. And now I can just wait for a second to download it. And now I can open it. And what I want to take from this folder is I just want to take the setup. So if I go to the CSS and I want to take this solid CSS, yes. So we can take this entire code, and basically this code is setting up the font icons for the solid types of icons. So where we can put it inside of our global CSS, just put it on top. I can remove these comments like so and save it. So we can start our application, or actually let's add all the things that we need. So another thing that I want to add, so with this actually we have completed the font awesome installation, and I can close this file. The next thing that I want to include is I want to include a Google font named Molish. So what you need to do is to go to Google Fonts and just type in Molish. And then when you get to this font, you can just select what versions of this font you want. I click on this regular 400. And then what you can do, you can choose if you want more of these. So just click on it, and then you can click on this view selected font families. And now what we can do is we can include this inside of our repository. So where we can include this is we can go to the actual, let me see, components, or actually components in the router head here. And I can remove these starter components because we are not going to use them, like I said previously. So let me just remove this. I need to approve it. Yes, delete permanently. And with that we have deleted everything. So now inside of this router head, we can include all the links. So we can just copy these 3 links from the Google Fonts, and we can just include them. So there are multiple places where you can include them. You can include them in the file itself or here. So right off the bat, it's giving us an error, and the reason for that is because we're not closing the tags. So just close the tags. You can remove this cross origin as well, and just make sure to close the tag like so. Now it's not showing any errors, and this is the CSS that you want to specify, your font family. So what we can do is we can save this, and we can go to the global CSS, and we can add this font to our body. So let me go to the actual, let me open up body tag, and let's just paste in this font family. So this is going to be default font family for our project, like so. And there is one more thing which I want to include for this tutorial. Let me close this smallish font. And that's the animate.css, because we're going to apply some animations to our website. And actually, I haven't showed you the website yet, so let me do that. So this is the website that we're going to be building. So I found this free theme on the marketthemes.net, and basically this is a free theme. So I got inspired by it. I think it's very nice, and I thought maybe we should build a quick version of this website, because this has been built using HTML, CSS, and jQuery. So it's pretty much outdated, right? Like so. Okay. I hope you guys can follow along. Yeah, I received a couple of issues on the actual LinkedIn, but yeah, I will upload that there later after this stream is done and completed. Okay, so let me continue. For anime.css, in order to include this, we can just go basically to this website anime.style, and just scroll a little bit down. So there are multiple options how you can include this, and one of the options is to just include this CDN. So, and let's go to the router head here, and let's just paste it here, like so. And with this, we have included our anime.css. So let me just close it. Beautiful. And now we can start off in creating our website. So let me just clean up what we have. So inside of the index, let me just see. So we actually need to change the header and to reset it. So with the components, or actually let me see in the layout, we have this header, but we actually removed that component. So what I can do is just delete it here and delete the header here. So we will create a new header component. Okay. Like so. And in the global CSS, we have removed everything. Let me just see if we have cleaned up. So with the layout, we have cleaned it up, and with the index, it's cleaned up. So let me just start our application and see that we have everything correct set up so far. npm start. So this is how you start your application, and then you will go how you can create your components and whatnot. Yeah, with nitty-gritty details of the actual qwik framework. So let me just open the. So yeah, there is no issues or any errors. That's amazing. Okay, so like I said, the first thing that I want to create is I want to create a header component. So we're gonna start off with the navigation itself. So inside of the components folder, let's create a new folder and let's name it as header, like so. Okay, let's just make sure that it's inside of the components folder and not in the router head. And inside of the header, let's create a new file and let's name it header.tsx, because like I said, qwik uses TypeScript. So let me close all the other files here, and let's create another file and let's name it header.scss for styling. Okay, so now how we create components, it's very similar once again to React. So let me shrink down the terminal so it's not blocking. So first we need to import a component. So import component from builder IO quick, and then we just export default. You don't have to name it, and this is usual naming convention, or actually name practice in Qwik. So just without the name, export default, and then we just use component, and we just pass in the function here, an arrow function, like so. And then inside of the components, the one thing which is absolutely necessary to have, similar to functional components in React, is return statements. So return, like so. And now inside of this return statement, we want to add a header. And let's just say hello, so that we can connect this to our router head here, or actually not router header, but inside of our index file here. Actually in the layout. So here we're gonna include the header, and below the main we're gonna include the footer later. So here let's add header, but before we do that we need to include the header and import it. So import header, and here you already have the imports, and let's just make it an uppercase, like so. And here we get the hello. So let me just zoom in a little bit, or that's fine. Okay, so we have included it correctly. So now how do you include the CSS? So it's not straightforward, to be honest with you. So first let's import the CSS file. So import, and the naming convention here is to use shouting, so all uppercase. So import style from, and we need to import it from header.scss. And what is important to add here is to add this flag inline. So this is telling to the compiler basically that it needs to inject this into inline CSS, like so. And now what you need to do is you need to import one more thing. So if you want to make this to be scoped inside of this component only, so it's not accessible from other components, so you need to import a function which is like a hook in React, and it's called use styles scoped, like so. And now inside of your component you just go and type in use styles scoped, and then you pass in your style, like so. Okay, what is interesting for qwik is that they are using the regular classes. They are not using camel case classes, so that's interesting. Yeah. So now I can just wrap this in parentheses, so it's nice like that, or actually, yeah. So what I want to add first, so we will have here a logo on the left side and the menu on the right side. So let's first add one div, and let's add a class to it. So like I said, the class is lowercase, so we don't have a class name or anything like that. So just regular classes. And let's name this one as top bar, like so. And inside of this header, or actually let's add a div inside of the header, and let's give this class to this div, like this, to top. Now let's add additional div, and inside of this div let's add a class, and let's name this class as container. And we will just add in a second a couple of default classes, or actually global classes for the containers, which we have on multiple sections in our portfolio website. Okay, so now we need to create an inner div. So let's add a div, and let's add a class, and let's name this class as top bar inner, like so. And inside of this inner we're gonna have our logo. So let's add a logo. So let's add a div, and let's add a class of logo. And inside of this logo we're gonna have anchor tag, and potentially if you click on anchor tag you get redirected to the home page. And here we're gonna have an image of our logo, and let's add a source. And here you have absolute positioning to our public folder. So we just need to, or actually public reference to our public folder. So we just go to public folder, and we just type in images /logo.png, like so. And you can even give an alt attribute because of the SEO reasons, like so, logo. And actually, as you can see, our logo is broken for some reason. So let me just see images, because I have S. Yeah, and it's white, so we cannot see it. So let's add some global styles to our website, so that actually we have that nice dark background, and to include all the things that we have added before. So yeah. Okay, so first let's include the fonts that we have. So here below the font awesome. Let's add more fonts. So I can actually just copy paste this font face. And for the font family here, we're gonna type in Poppins. Poppins, this is going to be the font family that we're gonna use. We can remove all of these things, and for the actual source, we're not gonna use web fonts. Also for the actual font awesome, we're gonna use fonts here, because if we go and check in the public folder, this is the URL. So public fonts, not web fonts. Fonts, and we can remove the dots because this is the root folder. Fonts, like so. And here exactly the same for the Poppins font. So just type in fonts, and here just type in fonts, like so. And then let's set for this one font weight to be 400, and for the actual URL, let's use the Poppins 400. So Poppins 400, and we can remove this format, all of this, like so. So it's more simpler. And now let me copy paste this a couple of times, because we have 3 fonts. So let me see. We have in the public folder, in the fonts, we have Poppins 400, 500, and 700. So let's update to this one is 500, and the font weight is 500. And for the last one, it's 700, and the font weight is 700, like so. Okay, beautiful. Now let's add some default colors that we're gonna use, or variables. So we're gonna do that inside of the root selector, and we're gonna add, let's add first the accent color. So accent dash color, and this is going to be like a pinkish color. So E65F78, like so. And you can have a preview here. Nice. Then we're gonna have a foreground color. So foreground dash color. This is gonna be just BBB, and we're gonna have light color. This is going to be white, and we're gonna have dark one, and this is going to be just 000 for the dark one, for the black. And now for the actual body, let's set the background color to be dark, like we said. Okay, so actually we're not getting this. Let me just see if we have any issues. We're not getting fonts being applied to it. So let me just check the console. We don't see any issues. That's because we have some override. Okay, let me see. Somewhere in our repository we have override for the body itself, and this is inside of the styles. Yeah, so this is here. We have one more styles file here, which we don't need. So I will just, basically inside of the roots folder, we have the styles. So I can clean everything up from it, and I can even delete it. So let me just see where it's being included. Probably inside of this layout. Yes. So we can remove it, and we can remove this use styles because we don't need it, and remove the import of the use styles, like so. And now just remove the styles folder, or actually the styles file, so we don't need it. And now you can see that we have this dark background, and we have this logo that we imported. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. So we set the background color to be dark. Then I want to set the margin to reset it to be 0. I want to set font family, or actually we have set it already, to demolish. Let's set the font size to 16 pixels. Let's set the line height to be 2. Letter spacing to be 0.5 pixels. Word wrap. These are just some default settings. Yeah, that I like to have on our portfolio. Word break, and let's set the font weight to be default as 400, like so. I want to reset some of the titles, so let's type in H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6, and let's set font weight to be 500. This is like a default one. Let's set the line height to be 1.4. Font family, let's use the Poppins. Like so. And let's set the color to be light. And I want to set the margin, to reset the margin on our titles to be 0, like so. Okay. Now I want to reset the paragraphs and the unordered lists. So paragraphs, let's set the margin for them to be 0. We're going to have quite some of them. And let's set the unordered list to be padding 0, like so. Okay. Now let's set some default styles for our container that we have here inside of our header. So let's add, we're going to have on multiple places the container. So let's add a container and let's set some default width. So set the max width to be 1170 pixels. Let's set it to width to be 100%. Let's center it, so margin left to be auto, and the same goes for the right. So it's in the center. Let's set the height as well to be auto. And let's set the padding 0 on top and bottom and 40 pixels on left and right. Set the position to be relative. Clear both, so we want to clear on every single section if there's any floats. And let's set the box sizing to border box. So there is no change in the actual width or height when we add some padding. So yeah, I think this is enough for the starters. So now let's continue and let's add some styles to our actual header CSS file. So the first thing is we have a top bar. So yeah, let me add it here. Top bar. So what we want to for the top bar, so we want to be position fixed. So even when we scroll, we want to see it. So position fixed, like so. Let's add the position to be top 0, left 0, right 0, z index to be 10. Let's set the padding to be 20 pixels, 0, and set the transition because we're going to have a transition in change of the actual background. So let's set transition to be all 0.3 seconds, and ease is going to be the easing, like so. I mean, you cannot notice any big difference, but yeah. Okay, so now let's add the classes to our top bar inner, so we can place it inside of our top bar here. And I want to set width to be 100%. Let's set the height to be auto. Let's clear everything, so clear both, because we're going to have some floating inside of it. Let's display it as flex. And let's justify content, space between. So we want logo to be on the left side, and we want menu or the links to be on the right side. Okay, and now let's style our logo. So here, let's target the logo class, and inside of the logo, I want to target the image. So I just want to set maximum width to be 50 pixels, so it's a little bit smaller, yeah, to what we have here. Okay, nice. Okay, so we can continue, and we can add our menu now. So okay, let's add unordered list. So inside of the logo, we can shrink this down, and inside of the top bar inner, we can add another div. like so. And this is going to be div for the actual menu. So let's give it a class menu. And here we want to have unordered list. And inside of the unordered list, we're going to have list items. And what we're going to have is we're going to have buttons. So let me just break it down. These are basically just the links. And when we click on the button, it's just going to scroll to a certain section on our website. Let's add a class here for this one as current, because we're going to always have an active state or active element. And here, let's say home, like so. There we have it. So now let's apply some styles to it. So let me copy menu. And here, inside of the top bar, let's target the menu. And inside of the menu, we want to target unordered list. So first, let's reset the margin to be 0. And let's set list style type to be none. Okay, we don't want any bullet points or anything like that. Okay, so now inside of the list items, what I want to do is I want to set a margin to 0 and 20 pixels on the right, and on the bottom on the left to be 0 as well. And I want to display it as inline block like so. And for the last child, let's set the margin right to be, so for every single element to have margin on the right, but on the last we want to reset it like so. Okay, and now inside of our list item, let's add some styles to our buttons. So first button, let's target button, and let's set the color to be light. So we want a white color to be, actually not white but light. Let's set the font family to be Poppins. Font family to be Poppins. Font weight to be 500. Let's set the transition because we're going to have a hover effect on it. So let's set the transition to be all 0.3 seconds and ease for easing. Background, let's set background to be transparent so we don't see that. We don't see that. We don't see that white background. We want to remove the outline as well. So outline, set the outline to be none. And we don't want to have any border, so border none. So it looks like a link. We want to set it the cursor to pointer, and we want to increase it a little bit. So set the font size. Font size to be 16 pixels, like so. Nice. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to add for the active one. So let's say li, and which one is active? So current. I want to set to button color to be accent one. So I want to be to pink active color. So let's say color, and it's going to be accent color. And it should be this one, yes, like so. Okay. And for the actual toolbar, let me add one more class. So because once we start scrolling, we're going to add a class to our toolbar, and we're going to make it a different color. So we're going to make it actually dark because we have different colors on the background, and you don't want it to be transparent like it is now. So top bar dot animate, and we want to set background color to be var dark, like so. And also let's add some box shadow. So box shadow, let's add 0, 0, 20 pixels. And for the actual color, let's use RGB. And let's use 250, 250, 250, and 9%. Here, let's just remove the pound, like so. Okay, beautiful. So we're gonna see this once we implement the actual scrolling. Yeah. So now what we can add all the rest of the links that we have here. And we're gonna have, we're gonna have home. We're gonna have about, and we're most likely gonna cover only these two for today. Yeah, and let's remove this current. So now what we need to do is we need to add this active state, and so you can see how this active state is getting updated inside of the qwik. So we need to introduce a new function like a hook, which we have in React, and that is called useSignal. So let's import useSignal here. useSignal. So this is exactly the same as useStateHook, except the fact that we're not using the updated function, but we're just assigning the values to the value property. So let's create a new variable, and let's name it active nav, and just useSignal, and we need to set the default value. The default value will be home, right? So now what we can do is we can add event once we click on the button to set this, to update this active class. And on the actual element, we can check what is the current active class and set the class to it. So how we do that is, let's say on the first home, we open up the curly brackets twice, and we add a current class if active nav.value is equal to home, like so. And for the second one, we say this one is currently active if it's equal to about. Okay, and at the moment it's home, so this is why this home is being active. So what we can do is we can add new event handler, please, here on click. And how you do that on the qwik is just type in lowercase on click with the $sign at the end. And here you call a function. So let's call a new arrow function, and let's name this handle nav click. And let's pass an argument that this is being clicked from the home. So here we can create a new function, and let's name it handle nav click. We already named it. So here what we need to do is we need to introduce this $sign. And what $sign does, it basically tells to the compiler that this function needs to be lazy loaded. So only execute this function once a user clicks on a button. That's all it does, right? Similar syntax to jQuery actually. So here we got the element ID, which is type of a string. And what we want to do is we want to set the active nav.value to be element ID, like so. Okay, so now if we click on the about, let me just refresh. Or actually we haven't called this onClick method, so let me just call it on the about. And we should set the class to the actual list item, not for the button, like so. And now let's update the parameter to be to about. And now if we click on the about, you can see that this changes the active state. Yes, but not only that, so what we need to do is we want to scroll to that certain position. So at the moment we don't have this about section, but what we can do is we can implement this logic, and later on we will test it. So in order to do that, we need to listen. We actually need to scroll to a particular element, and what we can do is we will need to use this function on multiple places. So what we can do is we can create a new folder and store this function in this folder so that we can reuse it on multiple files. So let's say in the source folder, create a new folder. Let's name it as utils, like so. And let's create a new file. So let's name this file as utils.tsx, like so. And inside of this file, again, we need to import a $sign from builder qwik, and we want to export this function. So let's name this function scroll2, and we're going to use this $sign to lazy load this function. So only when this function is being called, execute this JavaScript. Element ID, which is a type of string. So this is the parameter that we need to receive. So using this parameter, we're gonna find what is the actual element that we want to scroll to, right? So first we're gonna get the actual element, so, and store that inside of the variable. So let's store it inside of the element variable, and we're gonna get it using the document dot get element by ID. and then we're just going to pass in the element ID. So once we have that element ID, we just want to scroll to it. So element, and we want to check if it's available. If it's not, don't do anything. So scroll into view, and we just wanted to make it a smooth behavior. So pass in a flag behavior and add smooth. Like so. And now we can import this scroll to function inside of our header, and we can use it. So we can use it on multiple places. So let's import here on top. So import scroll to from utils, and here instead of just assigning this active, we want to scroll it as well. So scroll to, and we want to scroll to, we pass in the element ID, like so. Nice. Okay, so now we can add the rest of the actual links that we have on our website. So let me just copy paste all of this. So for the third one, we're gonna have services, and we're gonna pass here services as well, and we're gonna name this as services, like so. So the third one, or actually the fourth one, is going to be portfolio. So these are all the sections that we're going to have on the portfolio. Portfolio, and add portfolio value. You can even save this inside of a constant, so you don't have any typo issues. But this is quicker for now, so I'm just going to type all out. News section. We might gonna have news or not. So yeah, for now, let's leave it here. News, like so. And then for the last one is contact. So contact, and the value is contact, like so. Let's save it, and there you go. Now we have all the links that we have here. Okay. So now what we can do is we can proceed with building the Jumbotron actually here. So, but let me just check for a second. I think that something is not working as expected. Okay, I see that this padding, we forgot to add pixels because I saw that we don't have this padding on top. So yeah, that was the issue that we had. Okay. So the next thing that I want to create is I want to create a new component, and this is going to be called Jumbotron, and we're going to have this big image and you know, the title and all of that good stuff. So let's do that. So let's create a new component inside of the components folder. So new folder, and let's name it as, like I said, Jumbotron. It's a powerful name. So inside of this folder, let's create a new file, and let's name it jumbotron.tsx, and let's create a style file. So jumbotron.scss, like so. Okay, and this is okay. And so let's create a new component, so it can be similar to what we did, or actually very similar to what we did in the header. So what actually I can do, I can copy this imports here to make it faster. And we will also have a style as well. We're not going to use these imports here. And we're going to have a return statement, obviously. And let's just say hello, so that we have something into it. And it's complaining because we're not returning any JSX code. So we're just returning strings. So you need to return the actual tags here, like so. And for the actual style, we need to include it from the Jumbotron SCSS, and make sure to include it inline. We also need, again, in order to make this scoped, so include use styles scoped, and then just inside of your function, just call that function use styles scoped, and just pass in the style object here, or actually the module from Jumbotron here. And now what we need to do is we need to include this this component inside of our index file in the routes. So we need to go to the routes index, and here we can import it. So import Jumbotron, and just inside of these fragments, just add in Jumbotron, like so. And we can remove because it auto imported here. Okay, so you can see anything. You can't see anything because we don't have anything there yet. So yeah. So let's start coding here what we have. So this is gonna be very simple component. So let me remove this hello. And inside of this hello, actually let's add divs. So because we're gonna use some classes. So let's add a div. And for this div, let's add class inside of the strings Jumbotron. And let's add an ID of home. Why? Because we're gonna navigate, once we click on the home, we want to navigate to this section. So we're gonna use this ID as a reference to where to navigate. So yeah. Now we're gonna create a div for the actual background. So let's create a class of background. And inside of this background, we're gonna have an image and we're gonna have an overlay because I want to apply some effects using the overlay. So let's add a div and let's just add a class, simple class of image. And then we can duplicate this, and for the second div, we can set the overlay like so. Okay, now I can close all the other tags and let me just open the Jumbotron. So all the images are already downloaded inside of the public folder, so I don't have to worry about that. So let me target the Jumbotron class here, and I want to set the width to be 100% to take the full width, and the height to take the full window height, what is available. So if it's smaller screen, it's going to take smaller space. So set the position to be relative because we're going to have the image being positioned absolute. So set the float to left, and let's clear everything. So clear both. Also, we're going to set overflow to hidden like that. You can't see anything yet, but let's add a background, and now you will start seeing things. So inside of the Jumbotron, let's add a background, and this background is going to be positioned absolute, like so. And it's going to take top 0. We're going to reset the position to take the full width and height. So bottom 0 as well, left to be 0, right to be 0 as well. And then we're going to add the image itself. So let's take the image, and this is where we're going to inject our image. So image. Okay. And for the image, the same. We want to reset everything. So position, like so. And what I want to do is I want to set the background image. And let's set the URL to be images. And we have a banner.jpg. And this is the image that we have. So yeah, that's very nice, but we need to add some adjustments. So we first don't want it to repeat. So background repeat, no repeat, like that. Then set the size to cover the entire screen. So cover. Then position it on the center. So background position, center, like so. That's much more nicer. And now this is too bright, so I want to add a little bit darker color on top of it. So that's why I added this overlay. So let me copy this overlay, and here next to the image, let's target this overlay, and let's again set it to position to absolute. We want it to fly, and let's set the same position as for our previous elements here. Let's set the background color to be dark, but we are going to reduce the opacity, don't worry. So set the Z index to be 1 so that it's on top of it, and we want to set the opacity to reduce it a little bit to 0.6, and there you go. So it's not too bright, so it's not too distracting for us, right? Now let's continue adding some JSX code. So now I want to add the actual content for our Jumbotron. So let's add a new div, and let's add a class. it's always giving me this auto completion of the actual JavaScript class. So the class, let's give class of the content, and here we're gonna add another div. This is gonna be like a circle, and inside of this circle we're gonna show an image of this person whose this portfolio is. So inside of this div we're gonna have new class, and let's name this class as image wrap. And inside of this image wrap we're gonna have div, and we're gonna name it as a main image, like so. And now let's add that styles. So for the actual, let's first target the actual content here, so we can place that inside of our Jumbotron class here. And for the content we can set position to be absolute. We can set top to be from 50% because we don't want it to be on the very top but on the actual center of the screen. Top 50%, left 50%, and we want to use translate to move it. So let's move it transform, or actually we need a transform, translate, and we want to move it minus 50% on the X, and on the Y minus 50% as well. So yeah, on these coordinates. So let's align the text to be center, and let's set z index to be 2, so it's on top of the actual background here. Yeah. So this is for the content, but now let's add for the actual image. So we name it as image wrap, and this is gonna be like a circle. So let's add image wrap, and let's set the width to be 190 pixels, and same for the height. So it's like it has nice aspect ratio. Set the display to be inline block, and set the margin bottom to be 33 pixels, like so. And let's set position relative because the image inside of it is going to be position absolute. And for the actual image we use the main, because this is the main image of the actual person who this portfolio is. And for this one let's use again the same as for the background. Let's reset the position, and what we can do is background image, and here we have background image from the images, and it's called albert.jpg here. So all these images are inside of this public folder, and we have 3 images. We have logo, we have banner, and Albert, which is the actual, like, you know, image of this person. Let's save it. Okay, so images, I actually don't see it. Let me just check if it's there, if it's loaded correctly. Image, content. Okay, so the content is there. Let me just say actual main image. Yeah, actually I forgot to pass in the URL. That's why you don't see it. Okay, there you go. But apparently this doesn't look correctly, so we need to add some background properties. So background repeat first, or actually background size. Let's first set the background size. Background size to cover, so we can see what's happening there. Okay, that's more like it. So let's set the background position to center, and let's set the border radius, so it's circled. Border radius to 100%, and that's much more nicer. And now I want to add a circle around it. So what we can do is we can add before element, and we can set this one as well. Position is absolute. And in order to create it, we need to pass in a content. So let's add a content as empty string. And I want to set top to be -8 pixels, because this is going to be like the width of the actual border that we have around the image. So top -8 pixels, left -8 pixels, bottom same, -8 pixels, and right, -8 pixels, like so. Here we also want to set border radius, but actually let's set the background. So you can see it, background color, and let's set the light. So it's like a white background, like so, yeah. So there are a couple things that we need to fix. First, to be below the actual image, so set the Z index to be 1, or actually to be -1, because if it's 1, then we can't see it, like so. Then we need to set the border radius to 100%, and let's reduce the opacity. So let's set the opacity to be 0.08. There you go. So it's very subtle, you know. That's beautiful. So now what we can do is we can even add animation to it. So, and because we imported the material live, it's very easy to add animation to this. So what we can do is, I highly suggest you to go to the material live in order to see all the classes that are available there. But basically how you can add animation to it is just type in animate underscore animated, and then what you need to do is add animate, and for this one you add what is the actual animation that you need to pass in. So what is the name of the actual animation? So for this one, let's add the zoom in. Okay, let's just refresh, and actually I think that we need to have 2 underscores, so let me just try with that because it's not working. And there you go. So we need to have 2 underscores here, and this is how easily we can add animations here. And we actually can also add animations to our top bar as well. So if you go to our header TSX here, we can add animation as well there. So what we can do is here on the container, we can add animated, and then what we can do is animate and fade in down. So you can see we have this fade in from the top of the website, fading in down, and this is like zooming in. And if you want to check all the animations that they have, please go to the to their website. They're very useful, and it's very easy to add these animations to your website. Okay, so now what we can do is we can continue, and we need to add some text, so it's not just an image there. So we can collapse this, and now what I can do is let's add, instead of our content actually, let's add a title here. Let's add a title h3, and here we're gonna say, actually let's add a class, and this is gonna be name underscore holder, and we're gonna also animate this one. So we're gonna animate it using animated, and the name of the animation is animate fade in up. Okay, so this is going to go up, and the text below that is gonna go, or actually this one should go down. Let's set it to down, and the text below it is gonna go up, so they are like, come to each other. And let's add animation delay. So you can add animation delay as well. So that you have some animation coming after the other one. So it's not everything in the same second. So animate underscore delay -1s, which is 1 second. Okay. And for the actual name, we can add Albert. And let's add a span, which we can style differently. And let's name it Walkers. Okay, so let me just see if animate fading down. So let me just see if the animation works, or actually the animation doesn't work for some reason. So let me just see animate delay 1 second. Let me just see if it works without this flag. No, so I have some typo probably. Animated, this is the same, and then we have this. Okay, here we are missing 1 underscore. There you go. So this looks much nicer. Okay, and below the h3, let's add a paragraph. And for this paragraph, let's add text, I'm a web developer. So let's add a class here. And for this class, let's add arrow, or actually, this is a profession. So what is this guy doing? So this is his profession. Like so. I'm not sure if this is the correct actual spelling, but yeah, maybe 2F and 1S. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. Let's add animation as well. So animate. Let me just copy this so we don't have typos again. So, and for this one, let's make it fade in up. It's camel cased. And let's add animation delay as well to 1 second. So this one comes after the image animation. Okay, and let's see how that looks like. Actually, we don't get it because fading up. Okay, let me just see why that is not showing. So if I remove this animation delay, okay, we don't even see it. Okay, so because it's dark here, that's why we don't see it. Okay, yeah, so let's apply some styles so that we can actually see this text. Yeah, it's animating. I can see it barely, so but let's add styles to it. Okay, so we first name here, let me see the name holder. This is the class that we have. So let me see inside of our content. Here we can even name it, we can even place it here after the content. So name holder, and I want to add some space on the bottom. So let's add margin bottom to be like 9 pixels. Let's add the color to be light. Let's transform text to be uppercase, like so. Let's increase the font size. So font size to 45 pixels. It's much bigger. Let's add the font weight to be 800, so it's bolder. That's it. There you go. And let's set the margin to be 0. Also, let's set the font family. So it's more, you know, it looks a little bit different from the rest of the text. So let's set the font family to be Montserrat. I'm not sure how this is pronounced, to be honest with you. Yeah, but this looks awesome. And now let's add accent color to the span itself. So let's target the span that we have inside of this title, and let's add a color. And here we're going to use the accent color that we defined in the root. There you go, this one. Okay, so, and the next one is our paragraph. So we name it as profession. So next to the name holder is this profession. And for the actual profession, we want to set the color first to see it. So set the color to be var light. And set the font size to be a little bit bigger, so 19 pixels. Let me save it so that you can see it. Here, set the font weight to be 500, so it's a little bit bolder. And let's set, or actually, yeah, here. And let's set the font family to Poppins. That's more like it. So you can see that we have this very nice animation. So what I want to do below that, I want to add an arrow basically. So using this arrow is going to jump on our screen, and it's going to tell to use that we can scroll down and that we can, you know, get to the next section. So here below this paragraph, or actually below this content here, we're going to add another div. And let's add this div a class. So let's add a class of arrow underscore wrap. And here we're going to use, we're actually going to create a button. So let's add a button. And here we're going to use the actual font awesome. So if you want to check all the icons that I have, again, go to the Font Awesome website and you're going to find them there. So we're going to use, you first need to add prefix, which is the type of the font. So if it's FA solid, and I want to add FA angles down, so it points to the bottom. Okay, and yeah, let me just, actually we need to add some style so that we can actually see it. I think that's pretty much it what I want to add to this button. So let me just style it so we can see it. So here next to the profession, below that, so let's add arrow wrap. Let me just copy the class so that we don't make any mistakes in the typings. So arrow wrap, and we want to set the position to be absolute, this one, because we want to position this on the bottom. So position absolute, and the left 50%, and we want to be in the bottom center. So left 50%. From the bottom itself, we want to be 30 pixels, and let's use transform to translate on the x-axis. So translate x, and I want to translate 50%, so it's dead center, right? So set the z-index to be 6 so that we can see it, so it's on top of all these layers that we created here. And set the margin left minus 21 pixels, like so. And then for the actual button, set the background color to be transparent, set the border to none. Okay, yeah, border color none, like so. Let's set the outline. Looks like that we don't have this icon being rendered correctly, so I'm gonna check in a second why it's not being rendered. So let's just finish up with styling this button. Outline none, color to white, so light, like so. Set the font size to 30 pixels, and set the cursor to be pointer. Yes, so if I set the actual background to be, let's say, red, we can see that the button is here. So, but if I check, let me just inspect it so to see. If I check, if I see that this is font awesome, but yeah, we don't have the actual icon being rendered here. Okay, so let me just see if I have included everything that we need. So if I go and check the actual router head, so we need to include the font awesome as well. So yeah, but we haven't included the font awesome here. So what we need to do is we need to add additional link. So that's why it doesn't work. So let's add a link, and this is going to be style sheet. So rel equals to style sheet, and for the actual URL or actual href, it's going to be CSS, and we already have this inside of our CSS folder. So inside of the public CSS, and this is the font awesome. So CSS, and here we access the font. Let me just paste, or actually copy paste this name, so I don't have to type it. So yeah, like so. And now we have this button on the bottom. So let me just remove that background red. So we want to be background transparent again. And now we have our button here on the bottom. So now what I want to do is I want to make it a little bit more to pop up. So what I'm saying is I want to add some animation effect here. So once again, let's use the animated, and let's add a bounce here. So let me show you how it's easy to do that. So on the actual arrow wrap, so let's add, and let me just set the view to, so you can see everything. Here, let's set the actual animation to be bounce, like so. But we don't want it to bounce just once. We want it to bounce infinitely. So how we do that is we just type in animate underscore infinite, like so. And you can see it keeps jumping, and it, it's telling to the user that he should scroll down. And what we can add as well, delay. So like we did here, but let's add a 2 seconds delay so it starts jumping once all the animations are done here. So yeah, it's not distracting right off the bat. Yeah. Okay, so let me refresh just from the start. Everything fades in, drops down, and then this starts jumping. So now what we want to do is, obviously we want to add event. Once we click on it, we want to scroll to another section. And we already created this scroll to function here in the utilities, and we can implement this just in a second. So here, let's add on the button, let's add new on-click event handler, and here we're just gonna call this function. So, but first we need to import this function. So import scroll to, and now we can call this function. So scroll to, and we want to scroll to the about section, which we are gonna create next. Scroll to the about section, like so. So once we click, it's gonna scroll down. So, but we don't have anything, and we don't have a scroll or actually about section at the moment, and that is the reason why it's not scrolling. So I think actually this is enough for this first section, because we actually had more than an hour of coding in today's session. So this is pretty much enough to get it started. For the next sessions, probably we're gonna set up the about services portfolio, and we're gonna make this in the four sessions. So yeah, I think we covered a lot. Hopefully you learned some new things about Qwik framework. You got in love into it, and well, when we actually finish this project, what we're gonna do is we're gonna upload that to the actual like live server, and we're gonna compare all the SEO results that we have, not the SEO, but like the site speed results that we have and the best practices. And the premises is that straight out of the box, the Qwik framework is the best optimized, among all the frameworks that we have out there. So hopefully you guys enjoy this live session. So let me just see if there is any questions before I actually close this live stream. There is one question on YouTube, and actually I see that the LinkedIn for some reason people on LinkedIn haven't been able to follow the stream. So unfortunately, yeah, we have this issue once again. But I see there's one question on the YouTube. What library are you using for animation? I just joined. Yeah, to be honest with you, it's anime.live, but you can watch this live stream it's recorded on the YouTube after this session. So if you didn't have time to watch it, don't worry about it. So you can just join and watch it from the beginning. But it's anime.css, or actually anime.style. That's the name of the actual website. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you didn't have time to watch it and code along with me, again, go to YouTube live section and you will have this recorded. We'll make next session on the next Friday, and we're gonna do this in probably 2-3 times until we finish everything what we have for this website. And then we're gonna continue with future workshops. If you have any suggestions for future workshops, what you would like to see and what projects would you like to build along with me, please let me know. If you want to support what I'm doing, go to patreon.com/Sloba, and you can support me there. Get full source code of all tutorials that I create on these tutorials on YouTube. And also, if you want to get daily tips on front end, go to LinkedIn and Instagram, @Sloba again, and you will get daily tips on front end on various libraries, frameworks, technologies, and whatnot. It was a pleasure again coding with you guys. I hope you guys have a great Friday, great rest of the week, and I see you guys on the next Friday. Until then, happy coding. Bye guys.